All right. So, number one favorite is an oldie but a goodie for me. I've known this verse for several years, and I mentioned how it played an important role in leading me through the Interview with God project in 2001. And it's Exodus 4:2. The Lord said to him, and the him here is Moses, but the him here is also you. The Lord says to you, what is in your hand? What do you have available? Because this is what you need to do what God has called you to do. Do you recognize what's in your hand? When I was a little girl, I had a bicycle and I rode around outside. And I would sing this silly song as I rode my bicycle. In my mind's eye, I can see me doing this. And this is what I sing. My baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. My baloney has a second name. It's Mayer. Oh, I love to eat it every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with Bologna. How would you like to be woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning when you sang that? Okay. And so you're not going to get it right now. Jana, you may get it, but
I don't get it.
oh,
I'm not there.
I love it. So in 2001, when Interview with God went viral, 13 million hits, okay? A couple from Bologna, Italy, Bologna, Bologna, Italy, reached out to me. They had seen my site and wanted to know if I would help them with their website. And so I started working with them. We did this through email and through our correspondence. We liked each other. And so Marcello and Rafa Torrey, they have a food and wine, a gastronomical tour. They take you on different regions of Italy. You go in, you cook with some of the grandmothers, the mamas. You go into kitchens and you cook with the chef and you learn to make pasta and you visit places where they have olive oil and you taste real olive oil and you taste wine and it doesn't give you a headache and it's good for your body, et cetera, et cetera. So 6 months into this process, they sent me an invitation. They said, why don't you come to Italy? You'll have to pay for your airfare, but while you're here, we will take care of your lodging. And so I said, okay. And so I invited my sister, your mother, and a cousin. And the three of us went to Italy. And this was I think it was September of 2002. And they are my dear friends. It's as if I've known them all my life. And I stayed with them in their house. I met Marcello's mother. I met Rafa's mother and father, Nino and Novella. They have three children, Emanuele, Francesca, and Tommaso. Emanuele came to the United States and stayed with us in the house. And so this friendship has been going on for years. And now the next part that I'm going to say, I want to preface it with this. Sometimes memories sneak out my eyes and run down my cheeks. And this is going to happen in this story. So with Marcello and Rafa, I've lost count of how many times I've visited them, but we always Skype. And on June the 8th, 2014, sorry, I received an invitation to talk with them on Skype. I had known that starting in December, their youngest son, Tommaso, was not feeling well. They had gone to the hospital for tests. So on June the 8th, Marcello and Rafa did a Skype call, and they said, the doctors here have done all they can do. There is nothing more that they can do. There is only one place that Tommaso can go to, and the doctor will treat him for free. But the hospital requires a $600,000 deposit. Rita, is as if they have asked us for $1 million. Millions of dollars, we do not have this. And I listened to their story and I cried with them. And I said, give me a minute. I will get back in touch with you tomorrow. Please give me some time. So we agreed to touch base the next day. And when I hung up from that Skype call. I said, okay, God, what do I have in my hand? What do I have available for this impossible task? I knew how to make a website. I knew about social media. I knew about PayPal, and you can receive funds that way. And so I had this idea of gifts for Tommaso. I secured the website. I was like, this needs to be in English and Italian. I reached out to PayPal and I said, okay, what's the magic number that when people start giving me something into this account that it's going to flag you guys and you're going to shut it down? And they said $10,000. And I said, well, I'm going to need a whole lot more than that. Who do I need to talk with? And I spoke with the people at PayPal who were fabulous. They were fabulous for me in this situation. And so I could set up a PayPal account that accepted euros, pounds, and dollars because Marcello and Rafa have friends in Europe, in the UK, and in the United States. So I put it together, did a little logo thing, called them the next day, and said, This is what I'm thinking." I said, "I don't know if it'll work, but it's not going to cost you anything. I'm covering all of this because that was my gift. It's what I had in my hand." And they had a family meeting to decide if that's what they wanted to do. And they wrote me back. And so, giftsfortommaso.org, the Facebook and Twitter, launched on June the 11th of 2014. I spoke with Marcello and Rafa on June the 8th. So on the 11th, it launched. And we had a conference call on June the 11th, and they said, launch. We're going to go ahead with it. So it was live on the 12th. I came up with this little slogan: pray, give, share. We need you to pray for this family. If you can give, that would be great. But if you can't do any of those, then share these little social media things. So I created all these little graphics with that on there, gifts for Tommaso. Tommaso played semi-professional soccer. Tommaso is such an athlete. And it just so happened, isn't that something? It just so happened that Italy was in the World Cup. And so when we launched this, Tommaso's friends that were playing soccer heard about this, and they took the hashtag that we were using, Forza Tommy. Forza Tommaso. Forza Tommy. FORZATOMMI. Well, some of them took a marker and wrote it on their chest. They didn't have a shirt on, and they took a picture of themselves, which, of course, that in itself just spread the word. And June the 13th, I created a soccer ball that was empty. It was just a white soccer ball. And as we raised funds, I would fill it with red. And then when we finished filling the soccer ball, I was going to make it green because Italy's colors are red, green, and white. So on June the 13th, we had $48,000. I didn't do an ad. I didn't get sponsors for this. On June the 14th, 100,000. On June the 15th, 127,000. June the 16th, 240,000. June the 17th, 370,000. June the 18th, 500,000. June the 19th, $600,000. And Marcello and Rafa said, Rita, it is enough. Shut it down. Now, when I was trying to figure out how to do this, what was in my hand, I had a friend call me and they said, where are you? What are you doing? I said, well, I'm in Colorado with Katie and I'm trying to figure out how to raise $600,000. And she said, well, how in the world are you going to do that? And I said, I have no idea, but that's never stopped me before. I had no idea. But the World Cup was going on. There were some people that were chefs that heard this story and they started sharing. It went crazy, and within a week there was over 21,000 followers on Facebook. I don't know how many on Twitter because I was so stinking busy just trying to keep up with everything. So June the 19th, we had $600,000. Now, for all intents purposes, we started June the 12th.
Mm.
So we're talking a week or so.
It's incredible.
Tommaso received the treatment, which was grueling. They went to Philadelphia, and I could give you the details, but I'm not going to do that. That website still exists. The Facebook still exists. Tommaso received the treatment. He went into remission, and he returned back to Italy, and it was wonderful. But in 2016, 2 years later, Tommaso was diagnosed with a different form of cancer, and he passed away September the 24th, 2016.
Mm.
And that was a moment of crisis in my life. And I felt like Job blaming God. Why did we raise $600,000? Blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't see. I could not see what was going on. So now the motto for this site, because Marcello and Rafa still have this going, and actually what they do is they help other families that are navigating the same waters they went through. And the
Mm.
motto now is, instead of pray, share, give, it's to remember, to inspire, to encourage. And I
Mm.
didn't even think of that until after I'd written my top 3, and we had already named this to remember. And now this precious family help others who are facing the same thing. And at the beginning of this story, I sang that silly little commercial song about baloney. Baloney. I was 5 and I knew what baloney was, but I didn't know it was Bologna. And I
Mm.
didn't know the impact that Bologna was going to have in my life. And it was at 5 years old, I knew how to spell this. So that is the biggest "what do you have in your hand" story that I can share with you.
Yeah, I remember you sharing this story with me maybe a month ago. I don't remember how it got brought up or why we got to talking about it, but I remember being moved to tears. I mean, it
Mm,
really is an amazing and inspiring story and just such a display of what faith and trust and not giving up, not being crippled by what seems like impossible. I think Nelson Mandela has a quote that says, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
yeah.
And I mean, nobody would have nobody would have believed that you could do that.
Well,
And you
do that
didn't
in a
do
week. And
it.
and see, we had to do it in a week because Tomasa had to start treatments at a particular time after he had finished the treatments in Italy. We were on a time frame. I think it was 2 weeks. And looking back at the PayPal transactions, the majority of the gifts were $25. $25 from these people, and we reached 600,000. Tomasa lived 2 more years. His story was shared. It really made an impact in his town, and his mom and dad purchased, or they sponsor, a soccer field in an area where there are children that they don't have a lot of privileges. They don't have a lot of things going on in their hometown. And so this soccer field is named after Tommaso. And I actually was there when they dedicated the soccer field.
Mm.
And in the sky, in the distance, it had rained a distance away. At the end of the dedication, there were 2 rainbows in the sky.
Mm.
And Marcello, it wasn't lost on Marcello and Rafa. So that's why that scripture means so much to me. What is in your hand? What's available to you?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, no one would have believed that you could do that. No one had any faith, I imagine, that you would accomplish that. And you didn't accomplish that
Mm-mm.
on your own. You had to use what was in your hand. So that was your knowledge on some of these existing things, but also you had to lean on God and you had to believe that it could be done and
Well,
put your faith into that God could do this.
what were we going to lose?
Yeah.
What was there to lose? I know how to do a website. I'm just going to, it's not wasting my time, but I'm just going to use my time. And then someone else saw the vision and they jumped in. And then Tommaso's friends started the hashtag Forza Tommy. And then it happened to be the World Cup. And then it happened to be that this, and then it
Mhm.
happened to be that. Because it's a ripple effect when you're willing to take what's in your hand. Even though you don't know how it's going to end, you walk it out.
Yeah. And I love the pray, give, share. I think that that's like you said that most of the donations were $20, $25. I think sometimes people feel crippled and that they can't make a difference because they don't have a lot to give. But this just goes to show when a lot of people contribute a little, it goes a long, long way. And even if you didn't have anything to contribute monetarily, sharing the story and sharing it with other people
Mm,
makes a difference.
mm,
It really does.
it does.
Wow.